Mustang family, Jani here. I was driving here in East San Jose and I saw this amazing garage. There's two Mustangs in there. Looks pretty cool. Stay on the channel and maybe you'll find out who it is. I'm the president of San Jose Mustang Club and this is Meet the Prez.
Yanni, is that you? Hey, what are you doing here?
Hey, it's Mark. Hey, Mark.
It's good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you too, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I didn't know that this was your garage. This is so cool. So you have two Mustangs here. How many Mustangs do you own?
Well, I actually have 4 Mustangs so far.
Yeah. Which one was your first one?
This was my first Mustang right here. This is the 93 Cobra Mustang. I bought it brand new in 1993 at Ceremony Ford in South San Francisco.
Yeah.
Those cars, you know, they didn't make very many of them, right? But they didn't sell very well. So it was easy to buy one, even late into the model year, because and the reason why is because they were $5,000 more expensive than the GT.
Wow.
And they didn't have that much more horsepower, like 45 more horsepower. And the limited edition appeal, you know, most guys like myself really wanted to modify the car,
Yeah.
right? Which is what I did. So, but I decided I really liked the style, right? So I bought it, you know, because I was a motorcycle rider, right? And my wife worried about me, right? So she convinced me to trade in my motorcycle for a sports car. Right?
Well, I always say that I don't trust two wheels.
Yeah, well,
yeah. More wheels under me is better.
that's wise. That's a wise policy.
Yeah, and my dad was a truck driver, so he had even more than 4. So.
Yeah, well, so it probably worked out for the best. I got my sports car, and I love driving this car. I drove it to work every day. But of course, you know, the first thing I did was start modifying it because Mustangs are so fun to modify. So I took it to Charlie's Mustangs, which is a very famous shop back in the day in the 90s.
So it was here in San Jose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got the first thing I did was suspension, full grig suspension, torque arm, panhard bar, subframe connectors. And once that was dialed in, did the brakes and then the motor and bolted on a supercharger. And it was a Vortec blowing 12 PSI.
Wow.
So eventually I dynoed this car right here with that setup, and it dynoed 505 rear wheel horsepower, which was a lot back in the day.
That's
right?
a lot,
for these cars. I mean, not so much by today's standards, but
well, it is a lot. Like I'm only sitting on 580.
Yeah.
With my supercharger.
So not bad of an old school, you know, 5.0 motor.
Yeah. And how much does this car weigh?
It's I want to say 2,400 pounds, and I stripped a lot of things out of it. Took out the air conditioning, took a lot of stuff out of it just to lighten it up.
Yeah, so that's like 1,500 less than my car.
It could be. So I used to race this car at Sacramento Raceway. I would drag race, and my best time there was a 12 flat.
Wow.
In the quarter mile.
Yeah.
At 120 miles per hour, which made this car the 7th fastest Mustang in the Bay Area for a while.
Yeah.
And that was back in the late 90s. But over time, you know, I finished all the mods on this car, and I got bored. I wanted to do more, right? So.
But you already suited up so much that there was no room to do anything.
There was no room for anything else. So I found a GT convertible for $2,000. Okay, this will be a fun project, right? So I bought the car, and I did all the same mods on that car. So full grig suspension, torque arm, panhard bar, 347 stroker motor. I didn't put a blower on that car, but I did everything else.
Yeah.
And it was just for fun, right? So I had that car for several years. I drove it to work, but over time, up into the late 2000s, it became impossible to smog these cars, right? With all these modifications on them, it was just impossible to get them to pass the visual, right? So I couldn't get them registered. So I thought, you know, what am I going to do? Well, I want another car because I enjoy doing all this work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I bought a 1967 Mustang, which is pre-smog,
Yeah.
right? So I didn't have to worry about smog anymore. So I bought that car for $3,800, and it's a GT Coupe. And, you know, so I fixed it up, right? Over a period of about 10 years. It took a long time. But I did the interior, I did the paint, I did the motor, transmission, exhaust, really customized it. It started out actually as a Eleanor type of style.
Yeah.
Which I really liked, but then I started to think, well, I kind of like some of the Shelby elements, so I put a Shelby hood on it, put different tail lights on it. I changed my tail lights a couple of times, right? But different wheels, went to some different wheel styles, and eventually I put fuel injection in it. But that didn't work out too well. You know, the fuel injection just was not reliable. It was breaking down a lot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and at the time I still couldn't smog these Fox bodies, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I got the EcoBoost in 2019. So that's how I ended up with 4 Mustangs.
That's a pretty nice lineup here.
Yeah, and they're fun. You know, I really
Yeah.
enjoy the Mustang hobby. You know, I'm part of the club, San Jose Mustangs Car Club.
Actually, I'm a treasurer here.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the treasurer.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just really enjoy Mustangs, and I enjoy seeing everybody's cars, right? And I enjoy showing off my cars there.
Yeah. So I don't see now rest of the cars here. So where are the other 2?
Well, okay, so I mentioned the 67, you know, it had some reliability problems because of the fuel injection, so I put a carb on it, but then I decided I wanted a more modern transmission, so I'm having an AOD put in it, and TPS Motorsports is doing that job for me.
Yeah.
And they're doing some other restoration, renovation, they're putting in air conditioning, and a couple other things on that car. And the 1990, the GT Convertible, is also at TPS Motorsports right now. And it's getting some other work done, has some drivability issues. They're doing some restoration on that car too. So 2 cars in the shop and 2 cars in the garage.
Yeah. Well, I have to give a little shout out to TPS Motorsports. So they are taking care of my car all the time before I go to track and after the track and all the modifications that they do to it. So those guys are awesome.
Yep.
But then it takes a lot of money. Like I have used a lot of money on my car, and I don't even want to talk about it.
It takes a lot of paychecks.
Yeah. So how do you get your paychecks? What do you do?
Well, I'm a cybersecurity professional,
Yeah.
and I've been a cybersecurity professional for almost 30 years, which is a really long time in that space, right? Because back in the 90s, all we had was modems. Right?
Yeah.
Remember modems? And yes, there were hackers back then.
Yeah.
And so I was stopping the hackers. So that's what I do. You know, I'm currently a senior vice president at a local bank, and so that's my job. I've worked all over the Silicon Valley doing the cybersecurity.
Yeah. So of course nowadays it is a big thing because everything is
Really big.
connected and all the
Yeah.
appliances that we have at home, everything is connected.
Yeah.
When I was starting my computer career, then I had my Commodore 64, which has just some disks that I put in there.
Yep. I
But
had one
they
too.
did have viruses even that time. So
Right.
so they were just jumping to a disk, and then they were on the boot plug there. And then when you put in the computer,
Yep.
it came there, and then it went to another disk. So that was
That's
pretty
right.
much everything it was able to do.
And it just evolves every year, right? You see now in the last 5-6 years, you're reading about hackers in the news, right?
Yeah.
In the mainstream headlines, you're reading about vulnerabilities, you're reading about, all of these things, these exploits. And, for most of my career, it hasn't been in the spotlight, but it is now because they're getting so much more sophisticated all the time, right?
Yeah, and it comes closer to the consumer. So
Yeah.
So in old days, maybe it was just some servers and stuff.
Right.
But now everybody has their phone, and they can actually
Yeah.
experience, when somebody
Yeah,
hacks into their phone.
You can hack your phone. Yeah, I go to the hacker conference in Vegas every year, And one of the tricks they like to do is hack your iPhone as you walk by.
Really?
People walk by, and they put the pictures up on a big screen as people walk by, whatever's on their photos.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you have to delete everything before you go
there.
there.
Be careful with what you put on your phone. I think that's a good idea.
So I have to ask you a question about your garage. So this is like amazing man cavey garage you have here. So are there some things that you would like to highlight here?
Oh, sure. Well, so yeah, this is the one room of the house that I get to decorate. Right?
Yeah.
So this is my man cave. I've got my lift, which you know is a really nice lift for storing. It's great for storing cars, and also good for working on them. But in order to get this lift installed in here, I had to remove all of the rafters from the roof, so there's room for it to go up, right? So that was very expensive. That was the expensive thing. Lift is not very expensive. The work to make the clearance up there, that was expensive, but well worth it for me, you know, because I'm a total car guy. I'm out here, you know, nights and weekends, and that's my hobby, right?
Yeah.
So I have a space for my hobby.
Yeah, and I was thinking that, you know, seeing your lift, I would probably be just there in the car and just drive up and down.
right up and down on the lift, sure. Yeah. So, and I've got, I don't know if you can see, but there's diamond plate on the walls, and I've got these magnetic tool holders, so everything's organized.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
I can see that everything is really nicely organized. Not like my dad's garage, that everything was always somewhere.
All over.
You had to use half an hour to find a screwdriver or something.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So I've got a couple of games over here in the corner. I got a pinball machine from 1980, and I've got an original Asteroids video console.
So where did you find those?
Just garage sales. You know, if
Yeah.
I drive by and somebody has one for sale, you know, I love those things, and I know how to fix them up, right?
Yeah.
So that's really nice addition to the garage.
Yeah, now people are trying to make those old arcade games, but it's
Yeah.
hard because you can't find CRT Tubes anywhere anymore.
That's right.
So
It's very hard to keep them running too, because you can't get any circuit boards or parts. It's very difficult. A lot of reproductions are available, so that's the only way to keep them going.
yeah, and then like for example that Asteroid game, it has the vector graphics, so it
Right.
really needs the CRT tube. You
It needs a
can't just
special tube, yeah.
hook HDMI connector
It's
in
not,
there.
yeah, it's
So,
not a normal tube. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't make those anymore. You have to get them out of broken machines.
Yeah.
You need one. Yeah.
But hey, Mark, it was really nice to have you in the show.
Sure.
It was nice to see your garage from the road there when I was driving by. I had
Yeah.
to walk over here just because of everything that I saw. So yeah, thanks for being in the show, and
Sure.
then you guys will see Mark in our events, you know, when you come there.
Yeah.
So
I'll see everyone
Yeah.
there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yanni. I'm glad you dropped by.
yeah, it was my pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.